recovery would be different for different types of sports, but overall, it's the resynthesis of energy stores and allowing body systems returning to rest. So, like cardiac output would lower, and ventilation would also lower after a period of time. It's also about repairing damaged muscle fibers from intense exercise. So, in a high training session or a high performance or event competition, muscle fibers would experience are likely to experience microscopic tears, and these during recovery would the body would repair these to make them stronger. As you can see, in light exercise, like steady state exercise, so the triathlon athlete, you can see that the recovery time here is relatively short. But obviously, if the triathlon, for the triathlon, as it's so long, the recovery time here would be much longer, as it would take a long time to resynthesize the glycogen stores inside the muscles. So it wouldn't be that soon. This would suit more of a 100-meter sprint, as it's much short distance, even though it is high intensity. Because it's just such a short distance, it doesn't take that long for the body to recover. Whereas the marathon here, because it's 98% aerobic and only 2% anaerobic, and they're working for 2 hours plus, it would take a much longer time to recover, as there's a much higher oxygen debt, so EPOC would be much higher. So for the body to return to a resting state, their energy systems would have to be restored. So for a sprinter, like 100 meter, 200 meter, it's dominantly anaerobic. That means it'll be quite quick recovery usually, as really it's using ATP, PC, and glycolytic system, and the ATP PC system can be restored, fully replenished in only a couple minutes, whereas this aerobic system here takes hours, can take hours to recover. The components, there are two components for recovery, with the first being the alactic recovery component, and this being the fast section of it. And this fast section of recovery aims to resynthesize the ATP and PC that has been lost, as it doesn't take very long for this to occur, only 2 to 3 minutes for full recovery. And it also doesn't require much oxygen, as there's not a lot of lactic acid to then be broken down, as that hasn't been used that much. It also aims to replenish all myoglobin with oxygen, as this would be depleted as it's effectively stored oxygen, which would quickly be used up during high intensity periods, like the 100-meter sprinter specifically. Looking here, you can see that ATP PC is resynthesized very quickly, as by 2 minutes or 120 seconds, you can see it's already 100% recovered. So it doesn't take much time at all to recover. For many games players, like football or basketball, netball, there will be natural lulls during a game, meaning that performers can use that time to recover. So looking at this graph here, they would do a period of high intensity, like looking at football, there would be a period of high intensity, so like sprinting, and then the ball would be the other side of the pitch. Then that means that they can recover, where they could then sprint once again and recover again. And this is repeated throughout the 90 minutes of football, or however long other games may be for each performer. Also, ventilation and cardiac output would remain high, or remain consistent to what it was during exercise, to allow oxygen to be transported through the body to the muscles that need to be replenished, the myoglobin that needs to be replenished, or to help the ATP and PC be replenished as well. So then once they're replenished, the ventilation and cardiac output of the performer then begin to decrease. The slower component of recovery is known as the lactacid recovery system, and this takes minutes to hours to fully recover. Requires much more oxygen, as there's a much higher amount of lactate being formed, and this aims to remove that lactic acid by combining that with oxygen, so then it can then enter the Krebs cycle, the aerobic energy system. Once the lactic acid is broken down, 65% of it is converted into carbon dioxide and water. 20% of it is converted into glycogen. 5% is transferred into glucose, and 10% is transferred into protein. Now, this would take much longer and would be more focused on your triathlon here, where the body has been working for multiple hours, meaning that muscle glycogen stores would be low, and quite likely the muscles itself would have microscopic tears which need to be recovered. And because the body's been working for that 2 hours, it would take much longer to get the body back to the resting state it was at before the beginning of that competition or the triathlon.